Yeah, it's definitely a very useful and powerful approach. And it's not one that I really focused on the site, and actually I haven't studied personally, but I was really delighted to find that you had Paul Stamets there at the last longevity conference, who is, I think, recognized as probably one of the leading experts in the world in this area, and just really shared some very useful and practical information at your last conference. So, I mean, it's just an example of the type of presentations that you've got going on at these conferences. So.
I just want to mention about Paul, one of the innovations he's brought to the market, which is so incredible, is his idea of a host defense. So in Chinese medicine for thousands of years, it's always been known that the tree mushrooms that grow on trees, could be picked and made into teas, and that these were the elixirs of quote-unquote immortality. They're powerful anti-inflammatories, powerful immune system builders. They actually have chemicals in them like beta-glucans that protect our joints, etc. Now, in the modern age, what's happened is it's been realized that these mushrooms can be grown in laboratory environments in novel ways and be freeze-dried when they just start to put out their little fruiting body, which is the part that comes out of the tree. And these can then be, like, for example, you can take reishi mushroom and grow it this way. These can then be, mass-produced under controlled laboratory environments. And then you can combine them with other medicinal mushrooms, tree mushrooms like chaga, mushrooms like maitake, shiitake, that also have these immune system enhancing effects, and create what's called a host defense, where the combination of all these mushrooms together is more powerful than any one of them alone. And that's the innovation that Paul Stamets is driving with, and that's really what I recommend for everybody listening. Find a good medicinal mushroom product. Maybe you want to start with one. That's how Truth started me. Truth started me on reishi mushroom, and he said it was the hardest sell he ever had in his life to sell me on reishi mushroom. But I ended up buying 3 bottles from him. Yeah, this is years ago in LA at an herbal shop when I first met Truth. And then and the rest just blossomed into an amazing story, and I got so into them, it's ridiculous. But you can start maybe with one, but really you want to get to a point of doing one that has a combination of 5. And they're usually cut up into 1,000-milligram capsules, easy to do, fun to take, and they have a lot of beneficial side effects. For example, not only immune system, but also feelings of well-being. This is another really important aspect of nutrition, creating feelings of well-being. We're not just trying to be healthy. We actually really want to be vibrant and in a state of well-being.
Absolutely. So are there products out there that you can purchase as powders that have these together that you could actually put into protein shake that you're making?
Yes, that's what I'm doing here. I'm staying with Rebecca Gauthier and Len Foley, who help us put together the longevity conferences, and they have the powders here. So we've been throwing them in everything, and those are available through Paul Stamets, at fungi.com if you're interested in that. And they're great to just throw into everything. I like throwing them into smoothies. I'll put them into my tea. I'll put them into capsules and take them with me on trips. And I just was in the jungle. And when you're in the jungle, there's a lot of stuff in the jungle. There's all kinds of like ants biting you and all kinds of things. I mean, I got bit to pieces. Who knows what's in those mosquitoes? So I got to keep my immune system up. So does everybody else, especially when you're in that environment. So I'll take 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 1,000-milligram capsules of these medicinal mushrooms every day in that kind of environment.
Now, for those listening and not familiar with you, they may think that this is an unusual excursion into the jungle. But just to be more, I guess, precise, it's I think for the last 20 years or so, you haven't stayed in one location for more than 6 weeks. You're a wandering itinerant and going all over the world, finding these processes and learning more as much as you can about natural health. So maybe you can expand on that.
There's a phrase I came across recently, which really I think it accurately describes me. I'm a field researcher. I do work in the field. I've been into the Amazon, into the jungles of Costa Rica, into the jungles of Mexico, into the jungles of Indonesia, all through Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, all over the world, not just the jungles, but also the temperate ecosystems, the great ecosystems of Canada, all across the great forests of Canada. I do want to mention this, by the way. The forests of Canada, the great boreal forests, are the last great forests left in the world. And there's 3 times as many trees in that boreal forest in Canada as there are in the Amazon. just putting that out there because we hear all about saving the Amazon. Well, more important, I think, and more immediate to us, if you live in North America, is actually saving the Canadian boreal forest, which is happening. There's very, very good laws in place that keep any of that logging from occurring. I think Canada actually has a handle on it, very unlike what's going on in the Amazon. By the way, in the Amazon, one of the things that's actually saving us is acai and cacao, which is chocolate. Those two crops help keep indigenous people on the ground there. I do want to mention about acai, which we've heard so much about from every direction, has very powerful anti-inflammatory effects and is known to actually spontaneously, apoplectically break down cancer cells in vitro. So that's really interesting. There's been a lot of research on cancer in acai, and it's something like 86% of cancer cells immediately disintegrate in the presence of acai in the test tube.
Interesting. Well, another testimony to what you're talking to us about is your personal manifestation and representation of what this type of application does to one. And it's hard to tell here. And sadly, this is one of the last interviews that we're doing without the video. We're upgrading our system to allow us to capture video so that people could see you while you're talking. But, being in your presence or watching one of your other videos is really obvious that you're just highly animated, full of energy. It can go to wee hours of the morning and just full of life and vitality. I mean, this is exactly the type of presence you want to aspire to and what you get frequently if you apply these principles. So, I mean, you're really a strong testimony to the effectiveness of applying these things.
Thank you very much, and I feel the same about you. I mean, you're obviously ahead of me in the game in terms of, I think you've been on the planet longer than I have, but your skin glows. You're an amazing doctor. I mean, I am so happy you are out there doing what you're doing. I can hardly even describe the level of joy that I feel about it. It's awesome, and just to connect with you, become friends with you, and share ideas is really where we're at. And it's where the future is at, because together we are creating radical changes in the health choices that Americans are making and people all over the world are making.
Yeah, I think it's an important principle, and we weren't necessarily going here, but it's all about collaboration. No single individual knows it all, and it really it's about partnering and working with others who are really committed to a similar vision and sharing knowledge, and then by doing that and brainstorming and collaborating, coming up with a synergy and knowledge and information that far exceeds what any individual can do by themselves. So, it's just really great to have people committed to finding these answers that are there that really nature provides. It's only left for us to understand what the reality is, so that we can discern that and apply it to us and improve our health.
Absolutely. So, you know what I think we should talk about a little bit? This whole prostaglandin 2 versus prostaglandin 1-3.
Sure.
And that conversation about
always a confusion for many people, but yeah, sure you'll clear it up.
So there are pathways that occur in our body where certain oils, especially omega-6, can be turned into inflammatory, neurotransmitters. I mean, how would you describe a prostaglandin? Is that a neurotransmitter? Is it a hormone?
No, it's actually it's a more closer to a hormone. It's a modulator. It's a biochemical modulator, typically of inflammation, but certainly of other pathways in the immune system and such, and it has a variety of different interventions, but it's definitely not a neurotransmitter.
Okay, so these prostaglandins, which is basically like a hormone, can have inflammatory or anti-inflammatory effects. And it's prostaglandin 2 that's anti-inflammatory. Is that correct? And 1-3 are both inflammatory?
Right. That's the traditional approach, right?
Traditional approach. Yeah, I'm sure it's much more complex.
Yeah, there's interleukins and there's all these other components that